Alrighty, we are live. Excuse me. For those of you who are coming back after this is no longer live, we're reading Chapter 12 in Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for live viewers to join. We don't have anybody at the moment. I feel like there's a way... no, there isn't actually. Let's go ahead and start another poll. So yesterday I started a poll asking if I should read Journey to the Center of the Earth or 1984. And there was only one vote on that poll, and they decided with that one vote that I should read 1984. So that means Journey to the Center of the Earth is out. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to read either 1984 or some other classic work next. So let's see, what book should I read after Treasure Island? Should I read, excuse me, 1984, or, let's see, another book? How about Oliver Twist? Oliver Twist. And start poll. So that's going to be available for everybody who... Can I vote? No, I can't. Alrighty. Well, let's go through the filters again, because that seemed to attract viewers last time. Who knows, it might not work this time. Hello. I like that one for some reason. We'll just keep it on no filter. Hello. Hello, everybody. Lesser Road Traveled. Is that at Litz Jazzy? And Cool Isaac, hello. And I'm afraid I don't read Russian, so I don't know how to pronounce your name, your username. How is my day going? My day is going great. How is yours going? Hmm. 2 votes for Oliver Twist. Henri? Is that right? Hello? Cool. Male seahorses can get pregnant? Actually, it's just that the females lays the eggs in a pouch in the male seahorse. But I guess it's kind of like that. Don't know Russian either. Yeah. Russian looks really cool when it's written out, but I'm afraid I don't know how to pronounce it. Well, I don't remember of the name of the guy who started World War II. Or no, that was World War I I'm thinking of, actually, isn't it? Whoever it was that shot the Archduke, isn't that what it was? That was World War I think. Alright, it's about 5 minutes in. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. That was himself. Yeah, no, that was World War II that you're talking about. But I think what I was thinking of is World War I. So, I'm going to go ahead and take the covers off the book, because this poor book is so old. We're going to be reading Treasure Island. Let's take out the bookmark, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 12. Let's see. Council of War. I haven't looked to see how many pages are in this one. Oh, it's another short one. There's maybe 5 pages. I have not heard of that. I don't quite understand the wording that you just used there. I've got 3 votes. All 3 of them are on Oliver Twist. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna start reading. Let's see. That shouldn't take but maybe 10 minutes at the most. So let's go ahead and start. Chapter 12, Council of War. This one's actually a pretty neat chapter as well. And I lost all my viewers. That seems to happen every time I start reading. Alright, so Chapter 12, Council of War. There was a great rush of feet across the deck. I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin and the forecastle. I'm going to have to look up that word because I have no idea what that word is supposed to be, but it seems to come up a lot. It's FO'C''SLE. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to have to look that up later. But anyway, I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin and the forecastle. And slipping in an instant outside my barrel, I dived behind the foresail, made a double toward the stern, and came out upon the open deck in time to join Hunter and Dr. Livesey in the rush for the weather bow. There, all hands were already congregated. A belt of fog had lifted up almost simultaneously with the appearance of the moon. Away to the southwest of us, we saw 2 low hills about a couple of miles apart, and, rising behind one of them, a third and higher hill, whose peak was still buried in the fog. All 3 seemed sharp and conical in figure. So much I saw, almost in a dream, for I had not yet recovered from my horrid fear of a minute or 2 before. And then I heard the voice of Captain Smollett issuing orders. The Hispaniola was laid a couple of points nearer the wind, and now sailed a course that would just clear the island on the east. "And now, men," said the captain, when all was sheeted home, "has any one of you ever seen that land ahead?" "I have, sir," said Silver. "I've watered there with a trader I was cook in." "The anchorage is on the south, behind an islet, I fancy." "Yes, sir, Skeleton Island, they calls it. It were a main place for pirates once, and a hand we had on board knowed all their names for it. That hill in the nor'ard they called the Foremast Hill. There are 3 hills in a row running southward, fore, main, and mizzen, sir. But the main, that's the big un with the cloud on it, they usually calls the Spyglass, by reason of a lookout they kept, when they was in the anchorage cleaning. For it's there they clean their ships, sir, asking your pardon." "I have a chart here," says Captain Smollett. See if that's the place." Long John's eyes burned in his head as he took the chart, but by the fresh look of the paper I knew he was doomed to disappointment. This was not the map we found in Billy Bones' chest, but an accurate copy, complete in all things, names and heights and soundings, with the exception of the red crosses and the written notes. Sharp as must have been his annoyance, Silver had the strength of mind to hide it completely. "Yes, sir," said he, "this is the spot to be sure, and very prettily drawn out. Who might have done that, I wonder? The pirates were too ignorant, I reckon. Aye, here it is. Captain Kidd's Anchorage, just the name my shipmate called it. There's a strong current runs along the south, and then away nor'ard, up the west coast." "Right you was, sir," said he, "to haul your wind and keep the weather of the island. Leastways, if such was your intention as to enter and careen, and there ain't no better place for that in these waters." "Thank you, my man," says Captain Smollett. "I'll ask you later on to give us a help. You may go." I was surprised at the coolness with which John avowed his knowledge of the island, and I own I was half frightened when I saw him drawing nearer to me. He did not know, to be sure, that I had overheard his counsel from the apple barrel, and yet I had by this time taken such a horror of his cruelty, duplicity, and power, that I could scarce conceal a shudder when he laid his hand upon my arm. "Ah," says he, "this here is a sweet spot, this island. A sweet spot for a lad to get ashore on. You'll bathe, and you'll climb trees, and you'll hunt goats, you will, and you'll get aloft on them hills like a goat yourself. Why, it makes me a pleasant thing to be young and have 10 toes, and you may lay to that. When you want to do a bit of exploring, you just ask old John, and he'll put up a snack of something or other for you to take along." And then, sorry, he doesn't say then, and clapping me in the friendliest way upon the shoulder, he hobbled off forward and went below. Captain Smollett, the squire, and Dr. Livesey were talking together on the quarter-deck, and, anxious as I was to tell them my story, I durst not interrupt them openly. While I was still casting about in my thoughts to find some probable excuse, Dr. Livesey called me to his side. He had left his pipe below, and, being a slave to tobacco, had meant that I should fetch it, but as soon as I was near enough to speak, and not to be overheard, I broke out immediately. "Doctor, let me speak. Get the captain and the squire down to the cabin, and then make some pretense to send for me. I have terrible news." The doctor changed countenance a little, but next moment he was master of himself. "Thank you, Jim," said he, quite loudly. "That was all I wanted to know," as if he had asked me a question. And with that, he turned on his heel and rejoined the other two. They spoke together for a little, and though none of them started or raised his voice, or so much as whistled, it was plain enough that Dr. Livesey had communicated my request. For the next thing that I heard was the captain giving an order to Job Anderson, and then all hands were being piped on deck. "My lads," said Captain Smollett, "I've a word to say to you. This land that we have sighted is the place we have been sailing to. Mr. Trelawney, being a very open-handed gentleman, as we all know, has just asked me a word or two, and I was able to tell him that every man on board had done his duty, alow and aloft, and I never asked to see it done better. Why, he and I and the doctor are going below to the cabin to drink to your health and luck, and you'll have grog served out for you to drink our health and luck. I'll tell you what I think of this. I think it handsome, and if you think as I do, you'll give a good sea cheer for the gentleman that does it." The cheer followed. That was a matter of course, but it rang out so full and hearty that I confess I could hardly believe these same men were plotting for our blood. "One more cheer for Captain Smollett," cried Long John, when the first had subsided, and this also was given with a will. On top of that, the 3 gentlemen went below, and not long after, word was sent forward that Jim Hawkins was wanted in the cabin. I found them all 3 seated round the table, a bottle of Spanish wine and some raisins before them, and the doctor smoking away, with his wig on his lap, and that, I knew, was a sign that he was agitated. The stern window was open, for it was a warm night, and you could see the moon shining behind on the ship's wake. "Now, Hawkins," said the squire, "you have something to say. Speak up." I did as I was bid, and, as short as I could make it, told the whole details of Silver's conversation. Nobody interrupted me till I was done, nor did any one of the 3 of them make so much as a movement, but they kept their eyes upon my face from first to last. "Jim," said Dr. Livesey, "take a seat." And they made me sit down at a table beside them, poured me out a glass of wine, filled my hands with raisins, and all three, one after the other, and each with a bow, drank my good health and their service to me, for my luck and courage. "Now, Captain," said the squire, "you were right, and I was wrong. I own myself—" He curses. "And I await your orders." And then he curses back. Returned the captain. "I never heard of a crew that meant to mutiny, but what showed signs before, for any man that had an eye in his head to see the mischief and take steps according. But this crew," he said, "beats me." "Captain," said the doctor, "with your permission, that's Silver, a very remarkable man." "He'd look remarkably well from a yardarm, sir," returned the captain. "But this is talk. This don't lead to anything. I see 3 or 4 points, and with Mr. Trelawney's permission, I'll name them." "You, sir, are the captain. It is for you to speak," said Mr. Trelawney grandly. "First point," began Mr. Smollett. "We must go on, because we can't turn back. If I gave the word to go about, they would rise at once. Second point, we have time before us, at least until this treasure's found. A third point, there are faithful hands. Now, sir, it's got to come to blows sooner or later, and what I propose is to take time by the forelock, as the saying is, and come to blows some fine day when they least expect it. We can count, I take it, on your own home servants, Mr. Trelawney." "As upon myself," declared the squire. "3, reckoned the captain. "Ourselves make 7, counting Hawkins here. Now, about the honest hands. Most likely Trelawney's own men," said the doctor. "Those he had picked up for himself, before he lit on Silver." "Nay," replied the squire, "Hans was one of mine." "I didn't think I could have trusted Hans," added the captain. "And to think that they're all Englishmen," broke out the squire. "Sir, I could find it in my heart to blow this ship up." "Well, gentlemen," said the captain, "the best that I can say is not much. We must lay to, if you please, and keep a bright lookout. It's trying on a man, I know. It would be pleasanter to come to blows, but there's no help for it till we know our men. Lay to and whistle for a wind. That's my view." "Jim here," said the doctor, "can help us more than anyone. The men are not shy with him, and Jim is a noticing lad. Hawkins, I put prodigious faith in you," added the squire. I began to feel pretty desperate at this, for I felt altogether helpless, and yet, by an odd train of circumstances, it was indeed through me that safety came. In the meantime, talk as we pleased, there were only 7 out of the 26 on whom we knew we could rely, and out of these 7, 1 was a boy, so that the grown men on our side were 6 to their 19. 51 plus 51 divided by 51 equals not 2. 51 plus 51 is 102 divided by 51. Interesting. That's the end of chapter 12. Wait a second. So 102 divided by 51, 2 times 2. It is 2. What is that supposed to mean? Are you trying to get me to find an answer that's not 2? Because I don't think I can do that. Alrighty. Well, that is the end of chapter 12. So tomorrow, if I have the time, which I probably will, I will try to read chapter 13. And let's look at this poll. So what book should I read after Treasure Island? The options were 1984 or Oliver Twist. There were 3 votes, and all 3 of them were Oliver Twist. So I guess tomorrow I'll start another poll asking about Oliver Twist or some other book. But for now, Oliver Twist has won. Excellent. Okay. In other news, my book that I'm getting ready to publish, I just got the copyright for it today. So I'm moving forward with that. The only thing I'm waiting on now is for the cover art to be finished, and it shouldn't take too long. At the very latest, I would expect it to be done by the beginning of the year. So, all right. Let me... Well, anyway, that is the end of today's video. So, thanks for watching. There didn't seem to be very many people viewing live. It looks like I've maintained 1 viewer all the way to the end, so thanks for sticking around. For those of you who are watching after this is no longer live, thanks for watching through the whole thing. And leave a like. That would help. And also consider subscribing. That would be helpful as well. So, I'm going to go to bed now. So, thanks for watching, and y'all have a good night. God bless.